Hawaii. What is its real significance for being added as the 50th and final state to the Union? And how does it tie in with Eve, the mother of all? What indeed? Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in, and welcome to those first-time listeners. Now, if you are here for the first time, and you're not familiar with the format, this channel is strictly dedicated to intel you probably aren't going to hear many other places, because it's for the woke folk, which are few and far between. This world is and will always be made up of the sleeping majority. That's why I'll probably never see my subs come close to reaching 5 digits, let alone 6. Primarily because time is short. And if I'm worthy enough to be removed off this planet during the first fruit elect Revelation 14 rapture, not to be mistaken for the Revelation 744,000, which is all the church pushes, as in the false mass rapture of the church, my hope is that my videos will be here after I'm gone, so people can refer to them then. If that happens, that's when you will see my subscriber numbers climb, like a stairway to heaven. If truthers are still allowed to be on the internet at all. In other words, I'm not necessarily making these videos for the here and now, as much as I am for the seed is planted, now just give it some water to watch it flourish time. I want people listening to this channel who are tired of all the lies in the world. So now you're ready to learn what's really going on around you, which again makes up only a small minority of the population. Now, some people have asked me, why haven't I focused more on indictments or pedophiles? Well, my simple answer to that is that's exactly what they want truthers to do. Listen to QAnon and follow the indictments a la pedophiles. It's all a distraction for what they really don't want us focusing on. Channels focusing on that are blowing my subscriber numbers away can accumulate all the subs they want who are interested in hearing about that. All they want. That's not where the real news is. We are in the truth and disclosure phase of the last generation of mankind. All of this is supposed to come out now. It's part of the decree Lucifer had made with Father during the Great Rebellion. And like I've said before, Lucifer doesn't care which of his cabals, regimes, takes over as the quote-unquote last empire on Earth. He believes he wins regardless, because they are both his. It's no different than what I had said in previous videos, in that it's similar to the Rothschilds starting a war through a false flag event, then financing both sides to ensure they're both bankrupt and in debt to them at the end, just as long as there's plenty of bloodshed and death in between. They don't care who wins, because they've not only covered both ends, but they have covered all the in-betweens too. Now, people keep asking, when is the disclosure going to start? See, they don't realize it already started, and quite a while ago, probably as far back as a decade, and has increased little by little since, especially since the 2016 election and the CIA puppet Julian Assange put his hat into the ring. That's why I'm trying to explain to those willing to listen that quote-unquote draining the swamp is all part of the disclosure phase. It's not some benevolent act Trump is tackling to make this world a better place. It's too late for that. Doom and gloom or not, it's the truth. It's all orchestrated. Now, most everyone supporting him believes it's a valiant act because that's all they can see, which is what we're allowed to see. They don't see what's coming to take their place, as in the extermination of the reptilian cabal, which brings me to the topic of this video. Now, after my last video, I had several inquiries about my blurb regarding how Hawaii is another eye-opening topic for another video, so I figured I'd do a quick video on the subject now. Hawaii plays a big role in this crazy game of life, more so than most would ever know. Now, most believe it's a tropical paradise with perfect weather all year round. And on the surface, it is. Literally. on the surface. But what lies beneath the surface, literally lies beneath the surface, is where the truth is. What everyone knows is Hawaii is actually the top portion of a sunken continent, city, whatever they called it back then, known as Lemuria. That entire Ring of Fire location between Asia and the Americas is what Lemuria was, which was a fallen angel habitat during the angelic civilization. It, like Atlantis, yes, Atlantis was real, even though Marvel's movie Aquaman, or is he DC Comics universe? I can never remember which universe those guys are in, because I only know of one universe, Father Yahuwah's. In any case, they tried to make Atlantis sound fictitious, yet more truth being shown to us through movies. They actually believe as long as they put truth out there, despite it wrapped up in deception, where they don't have to explain themselves and their motives, as long as it's out there, it's on us for not picking up on the subtleness of what they're divulging. That's how little they think of Father's mankind. Or loathes mankind, rather, I should say. Sure, we'll give you the required hints, but that doesn't mean we're going to coddle you and explain every little detail to you. Anyway, Lemuria and Atlantis were destroyed by fire and ultimately sunken. Earth existed before as an angelic civilization. That's why when the archaeologists go digging, they start finding stuff, and the stuff they're finding, like the ancient civilization Atlantis, that was one that Lucifer's people were living in and had created after he had rebelled against heaven and already left heaven. They had their own fallen angel civilizations on the planet. That was one of them. Earth had 7 of them. Lemuria, another. It was a total of 7 angelic civilizations. This planet, which was formerly known as Shan. These 7 territories are buried under 1,000 miles of sand in the desert. You'll never find them. That's why people get confused as to why they're finding fossils and bones that they're somehow able to track back to hundreds of thousands of years ago. It's because Shan existed here before it was recreated as Earth. Earth is only 6,000 or so years old, but what was already here, like Lucifer's attempt at creation in way of dinosaurs, can still be found buried. It's like, look at the Promised Land. It was first called Canaan, then Israel, then any number of names when it was overtaken for the next several hundred years, but ultimately brought back to being Israel in 1947 through the ruse of the UN and the Rothschilds, in order for the Ashkenazi fake Jews to overtake after having killed off the Torah-believing Jews in the Holocaust, the real reason for the Holocaust. No matter what it was called, it's still the same location, but they're not going to tell you that because they don't want you to buy into Father's 6,000-year plan, well, 7,000 when you include the millennial reign of Yahushua, but the tribulation has to come before that. So most just go about their lives believing the end will never come, not to mention how many calendars are out there, especially the corrupted Gregorian calendar implemented by Pope Gregory in 1582, adding 2 more months to the calendar to make it 12, to honor Augustus Caesar and Julius Caesar. You ever notice how September is the 9th month, but sept means 7, October means 8, November means 9, December means 10? Ever considered that? Anyhow, the 1,000 years with Yahushua is basically a repeat of the aftermath of the Great Flood, and how those 8 people had to repopulate Father's mankind. Only this time, hybrids and fallen angels won't be around to wreak havoc and crossbreed. The church preaches that all the evil perished in the flood, which is a convenient story to erase every possible consideration for the real reason for what's been happening on the planet ever since. But even the Bible, as corrupted as it is, still explains instances of hybrids being around, long after the flood. What did Moses' 10 scouts exploring Canaan say at the end of Numbers chapter 13, reporting badly on the land before Father Yah struck them dead with the plague for inciting rebellion and faithlessness against him? Something like, All the people are huge, even saw giants, sons of Anak. We felt like grasshoppers. Now, Caleb and Joshua didn't disagree with what the other 10 scouts had seen and reported, but they remained faithful, believing they could win a battle against the giants because they had Father's protection. But I thought they were all swept away in the flood. Hardly. Just like I've said before, if you aren't willing to believe that the word is not even close to being 100% truth, then you're just placing yourself behind that proverbial 8-ball from the word go. That example is proof right there that the church deceives, making us believe that the flood was essentially a big etch and sketch that erased all the evil in the world. Even manipulating the words of Yahushua, stating the flood came and swept them all away. For those who recall the video game Asteroids, just like a smart bomb, clearing the screen of any danger. Now getting back to Hawaii, included in the description is a link to a really interesting site called Jeremiah 33rd chapter 3rd verse.com. This is some of the content from it. So during Noah's pre-flood era, the world was evidently covered in a gold firmament. In the thesis-antithesis concept, the dark side explanation for the flood is that it was their victory by breaking the firmament. Now fast forward some 4,300 years later, and we reach August 21st, 1959, give or take. The final piece of the last chapter of the Mystery Babylon puzzle, in the form of Hawaii being admitted to the Union. That same day, by Executive Order 10834, Dwight David Eisenhower had gold fringe put around the flag in every government building, including courthouses. The whole dark ritualistic point of the gold fringe was to seal the U.S. in maritime law, now that they had their 50th and final state signed, sealed, and delivered. Did anyone ever stop to consider why our country stopped at exactly 50 states, no more or no less? And why Hawaii was the very last one? Or even why Hawaii is spelled the way it is? The deep state that runs this country and others are all about powers and numbers, which you may already know if you're at all familiar with the history of gematria. The concept of maritime law is that anything not of the fallen third and awakened mind, and that mind being of the serpent variety, is to sea, S-E-A, and by coming into port, they are subject to such law ruled by the tribe of Dan. Now, despite what we've always been told concerning the backstory to the flag, the 50 stars and the 13 red and white stripes are ritual and show the 50 days from resurrection to formation of the church at Holy Pentecost, sealed by the false victory. The last piece is Hawaii, and true to form of what Yahushua said in bearing fruit, the naming of Hawaii is no different. Late Latin from Hebrew, Semitic, Hawa literally translates to Eve, a living being, and the two eyes represent the duplicity in man's nature for both good and evil, a la Cain and Abel, Eve's first two sons by two different fathers, one good and one very bad. Eve is the fertility goddess, Ishtar, because all beings fathers mankind through Adam and then Seth, and Lucifer's serpent seed bloodline through Cain started with her birthing them. We all come from Eve. Eve, as in Ishtar, is what Easter, the pagan holiday celebrated within Paul's religion, is really celebrating, the fertility goddess, instead of Passover, which is ignored by Paul's religion because they were told it's Jewish tradition, not realizing that it's Father's tradition, not Jewish. Judahites were simply the only ones to ultimately adhere to it. And most Christians don't realize that they're Israelites, but have simply forgotten their true identity, as Jeremiah mentions in chapter 50, verses 6 and 7, because of all the deception by the dark side, most primarily because of, you guessed it, generational indoctrination. Christianity just goes along with because that's what they've always done. Listen to man-made religion over Father. So Israelites and Judahites are sitting in Paul's church unaware of their real identity, and they are maliciously told by both the corrupt church and our government to support modern-day Israel any way they can, not realizing who was actually running this version of Israel ever since the fake rebirthing of 1948. So they give money to the very evil that stole their ancestors' promised land without realizing it. Talk about evil. See a pattern yet? How about this? Eve has the entire Catholic denomination of Christianity, the granddaddy of all Christian denominations, completely deceived because their Virgin Mary they worship, the one that Roger Staubach tagged the desperation flight pattern after due to his Catholic upbringing, yeah, that one, which is in and of itself idolatry. It's actually Eve they're worshiping. It's no different than Protestants and every other Christian denomination worshiping Jesus, yet another example of idolatry, while looking at graven images of Jesus on Sun God Day, effectively breaking 3 of the first 4 commandments, and they haven't even gotten to Sunday family lunch yet. Oh, right. But Paul said the law is a curse. Oh, right. I keep forgetting. Paul was the lone exception that Father Yahweh had allowed for when it came to commandment number 9. Thou shalt not bear false witness. I keep forgetting about that addendum that allowed for Paul to consider his audience as to whether or not he should lie or not. Man, I'll have to make a sticky note or something to remind me for the next video. Oh, wait. What am I saying? Man, sometimes I cannot believe what comes out of my mouth. I just came full circle. Paul says the law is a curse, so he doesn't even have to adhere to commandment number 9, much less the rest of them. He can lie all he wants because we are saved by grace alone, according to his gospel. Just believe and you're golden, first class seat to heaven. Man, no wonder he has a graven image of a cross on his church. That doesn't apply to him either. That really helps explain why gangbangers, drug dealers, the mob, all wear a cross around their necks. Just believe, and you don't have to adhere to commandment number 6 either. Because Jesus died for all of our sins, because sinning is unavoidable in this fallen body. So, just as long as you believe, his ultimate sacrifice had given us a free pass to heaven, regardless of how badly we act down here. Wow, man, now I'm really starting to understand where Paul is coming from. He is the chief sinner. The picture they think is the Son of Man is actually one of Lucifer's top generals, Sananda, who goes by the name Jesus. Nobody knows what Yahushua ben David looks like, because he, like most truths, are kept hidden in the darkness by the darkness's design. So in both instances, the dark side has the congregation completely indoctrinated into believing that something is, but is really not. Starting to see a pattern yet? Try this one on for size. Ishtar, Hecate, Isis, and any number of other names in Greek mythology are the same person, Eve, as in we have a huge Asherah pole of her erected in the New York harbor, hiding in plain sight. See any similarities between Hecate on the left, Ishtar in the middle, and the Statue of Liberty? Naturally, in 1884, the statue was presented as a gift from the French Freemasons of the Grand Orient to their Mason brothers in the United States. And who do Masons worship? The light bearer, Lucifer. Coming from the darkness into the light? Sound familiar, Jonathan Kleck? Not that he's listening, but I've left several comments on his videos trying to snap him out of his deep deception. And what is Eve holding in her right hand? A torch to bear light. And who did I say Eve had chosen? She chose Lucifer over Father Yahweh. And what does the statue sit on? A hendecagram, a satanic 11-sided star. It's got to be just one number higher than the 10 Commandments, naturally, to try and one-up Father Yah, always mimicking and copying him. The created trying to outdo the creator. In any event, what is interesting about the Hawaiian flag is that it is the only U.S. flag that has retained a Union Jack canton, a little square charge a la an emblem or device placed in the upper dexter corner, which means to the right from the viewpoint of the bearer of the shield. Now, technically, this could be considered illegal because said canton bears the mark of a foreign country, the United Kingdom. And why wouldn't it? When you're awake, you know that we've always been under the rule of the Queen, that our Declaration of Independence was anything but. Just look at the bar, the British Accreditation Registry. Once Hawaii was sealing our flag as being captive, we've been tricked into going into a court of law because most don't know what those two hanging fobs and the gold fringe actually means. The fobs indicate maritime law, which again means anything not of the fallen third and awakened mind, and that mind being of the serpent variety is to sea, S-E-A. And by coming to port, they are subject to such laws ruled by the tribe of Dan, and the fringe indicating no nation. That's why you're quote-unquote innocent until proven guilty, yet you still have to sit in jail awaiting your hearing or trial when not given the option of posting bail or even can afford it. It all ties back to the Organic Act of 1871, when America had become a corporation. Again, I know some of this is redundant for any of you who have been following my previous videos, but again, repetitiveness isn't a bad thing when deceptive indoctrination has to be removed and replaced. Are you willing to step out of the false sense of security of your assigned matrix box? Anyhow, I could go on and on about this, but I try to keep these relatively short because I know how short attention spans are with all the distractions at our disposal in this day and age. Let me know if you want me to delve into it deeper. Again, that's why I had done this video about Hawaii, like I'd said earlier. Now, here's one last piece on Eve's deception. Check this out and tell me if it doesn't blow your mind. And I'll bid you adieu. Until next time. God bless.
But he got Eve. So he has had Eve all this time. And she's been up there with what the New Agers call the Ashtar Command. She's been up there playing Mother, Diviners, all this stuff. She has her own thing going alongside Lilith. They're the best of buddies. They're inseparable. Lilith controls everything demonic, everything witchcraft, everything sex, everything fertility. She's all into that. And Eve controls all the false religious stuff. You know, the prosperity gospels, who do you think came up with that one? It was Eve. Lilith says, oh, that was genius. She laughs. It's Eve who comes up with all this religious false stuff. Years ago, when I picked up on something the New Agers were promoting, they wanted everybody to become more and more alkaline, to give up meat, eat vegetables, give fruit. And I said, yeah, because it'd be easier to possess. Because our bodies need meat. We're flesh, we have fallen bodies. Our bodies need meat to produce all the chemicals and nutrition that these kinds of bodies need. So what they typically do, militaries will do this to prisoners and stuff. They don't give their prisoners meat to eat. They give them vegetables and fruit and stuff because they're easier to control. Cults do the same thing. When they want to brainwash you and mind control you, they give you limited amounts of food, and it's always a vegetarian diet. You become much easier to control. And so these New Agers who were becoming vegetarians and all this stuff, it made them much easier to control and possess. Literally just demonically possess them. And of course, Eve got mad when I blabbed that out because nobody knew what they were doing. And they get mad I figured this stuff out. Another thing is with the codons. what they want to do, let me see if I can find that. Before man fell, before Adam and Eve fell, I'm going to wing this off the top of my head, but I believe that there was 12 codons to our DNA, 12 strands to our DNA. And when mankind fell, 10 of them were shut off and we were left with a two-strand helix DNA. Well, in the New Age apostate teaching, they try to encourage mankind to turn these other codons back on. And they try to do that, encourage them to do that through stringent dieting and meditation. And what this does is first of all, whenever you want to mind control somebody, whenever somebody's running one of these religious cults, the first thing they do is change the person's eating habits. They restrict your eating. They start controlling what you eat and what you drink because it affects your mind. So they're not only messing with your mind in that way, because your body stops producing certain chemicals that you need. Now, people want to be all vegan and stuff, and that might sound healthy, but your body needs meat. It needs meat so it can keep producing all of the hormones and chemicals that your body needs to function normally. And when you shut something off, something else is going to go wrong. So this is, they're affecting people through their diet. It affects their minds. Their bodies stop producing everything they need. Then they're in these meditations. And what this does is it ultimately invites demonic possession. When you think you're going to be opening up your third eye, let me tell you something. The Lord closed it for a reason. He closed our chakras for a reason. Most people relate the 10 codons that the Lord shut off, relating to the chakras that are within our body. I don't get into all that chakra stuff. I know they exist. But if the Lord wanted them turned on, He would have turned them off. He turns them off. So who are we to say, I'm gonna work through meditation and screw up my body with stringent dieting and get these turned back on? What they basically try to do. What that does is it invites demonic possession. And when your chakras are opened, you're going to be dealing with a lot of demonic problems. A lot more. You think you're being harassed now? Just being who you are? Why would you invite more trouble? More than you could even handle or deal with. By opening up your chakras. I mean, I know hybrids that do this. I've dealt with people, and these kids are a mess. They think it's a good thing that they're opening up their chakras, or they're open when they were children and going through MK Ultra programming. That's another mishap that happens to them. Their chakras are open, and they end up having to deal with just a lot of spiritual warfare and demonic battles, more so than the normal person would ever have to. It's a common battle with them, a common fight, everyday thing. It just doesn't stop, it doesn't go away. But that's what these New Agers want people to do. They want to tweak their DNA, get them to open up their third eye, which is Pandora's box. It's not a good thing, folks. People hear, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I should open my third eye. That's Pandora's box, folks. You don't want to deal with that.